I promise to be a good person with knowledge in my mind, honesty in my heart, strength in my body, to make good friends, and to become a black belt leader. We are ATA Martial Arts.
Hey, Master Rick Hill here, and today my very special guest is a 4th degree black belt. He's a world XMA champion. He has been featured on the ESPN Invitational. He's an ATA brand ambassador and co-owner of ATA Legends Martial Arts in Jackson, Missouri. Mr. Brandon Johnson.
Hey! Hello, sir.
Thanks for joining me today. I'm really excited to meet with you.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
So I thought before I start asking you some questions, we play a little game.
Oh,
You're familiar with Mad Libs?
that sounds good. Yes, sir.
I found Ninja Mad Libs.
Oh, my goodness.
So, you probably know how the game goes, so I'm going to ask you some words here, and then we're going to put it into a story. So I need an adjective.
Adjective. To describe something so fast. Does that work?
Plural noun.
Car. Cars.
Cars. Plural, right. A place.
Place. Korea.
Already got our Taekwondo theme here, except for cars. Number.
7.
Lucky number 7. Silly word.
Silly bird. Phalange.
Phalange?
Phalange.
Phalange?
Phalange.
Can you spell this?
No. Isn't the medical name for finger? F-A-F-L-A-N-G-I-E, I think. Great, you got my spelling on camera. That's good.
We'll cut that out.
Yes, sir.
Or not. It's probably better than what I wrote on here. You don't have to see that. Verb.
Verb. Jumping.
Adverb.
And I'm going back to my days in school. Adverb.
Like an adjective describing a verb.
Fastly jumping.
Fastly. Fastly. Okay. Plural noun.
Bulls.
Bowls?
Bulls. Cows. There we go. We'll go with cows.
Bulls. B-U-L-L-S. Bulls?
Bulls is fine, yes.
Bulls. Like the basketball team.
Sure.
Sure. Plural noun.
Plural noun. Another one?
Oh, there's like 3 more coming, just to warn you. This one's like all plural noun.
Let me see. I don't know. Kites.
Heights.
There we go.
Adjective.
Sleepily. Would that be an adjective?
I think maybe sleepy.
Or slowly, sleepy.
Sleepy. We'll do sleepy. Plural noun again.
What about? I'm trying to think of an object. Song knots?
Guess what's next? Plural noun.
Or noun.
I think that's the last one now we need to. What's that?
Dodgeballs?
Dodgeballs.
There we go. Let's keep it in the school.
Not my school. Verb ending in ing, ing.
Laughing.
Hopefully that's what we'll be doing when I read the story. Part of the body, plural.
Part of the body, plural. Hands.
Okay, that's the last one. All right, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Where do ninjas come from? Their beginnings are as mysterious as fast as those of any ancient cars of the 14th century. Historians claim the ninjas originated in the Korea around 7 years ago. The word ninja comes from the Japanese word phalange, which means to jump fastly. Espionage was their primary job. They acted as secret bulls, spying on the bad guys. They were hired by royalty and other powerful kites to discover an enemy's sleepy weaknesses. They would sneak into opposing camps to steal passwords, battle plans, or songnuts. Known for their stealth movements, ninjas avoided detection by disguising themselves as dodgeballs and laughing quietly in the shadows. When it came to dealing with ninjas, people quickly learned to have hands in the back of their heads.
I'm sorry for that.
Wasn't quite as funny as I thought it might be.
That's okay. When I was doing this interview, I wasn't sure, I wasn't prepared for literature.
Go back to English class.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Mr. Johnson, how long have you been training in martial arts?
I actually did the math recently. I can't believe it's been this long. I've been in martial arts for 19 years now.
19.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure a lot of your students haven't been alive that long.
Yes, sir, most of them. I like to joke about VCRs all the time because they have no idea what that is.
Have you ever asked your kids how old they think you are?
Yes. Most of the time, they guess I'm still a teenager. Mostly all think I'm a teenager, so I guess it's my positive energy, I guess.
You're lucky. I get like 100. Wow.
Wow.
I guess it's all my wisdom.
That is harsh. But yes, it could be your wisdom, sir.
So you've been doing it 19 years. How did you even get started?
That's actually a great question because several of my siblings before me, they actually all did martial arts. My dad kind of wanted them to do it because he wanted them to, learn the values of martial arts, and all of them quit. They did not like it. I think the highest rank in my family was yellow belt so far, and my dad, of course, started ATA long time ago. So he really wanted us to do martial arts. So when my mom suggested martial arts for me as a 7-year-old, my dad was like, no, he's just going to quit like everybody else. Don't even bother. Kathy, don't bring him up there. And she was like, no, I think he'll be really good. And I was really excited to do it. And so my dad's like, if you're going to do this, go wash your feet. And I was like, what? And he said, you need to go wash your feet because if you have dirty feet, the instructors will make you kiss somebody else's feet or something like that. And I was like, what is he talking about? And so I was kind of scared going in, but I obviously loved it. I gave 150% every time, every single class, and it really worked out for me. And my dad was like, oh, wow, he's actually taking this seriously. So I think it was about red black belt where he was like, oh my gosh, like he's competitive. Because I was really getting into it. I won my first state title actually with sparring. So it was pretty crazy for everyone.
I have, you and I, you know this, but people watching might not, but you and I worked together for, I guess about a year in Arkansas together. And my wife too, as well as yours, who was not your wife at the time, which I want to talk maybe more about that later. But I met one of your sisters. I obviously got to know your dad a bit, and I've met your mom. But how many? You said you had, you had brothers or sisters that did it before you. How many kids are in your family?
I actually have 3 sisters and 2 brothers.
Wow.
So 6 in total.
I didn't know that.
Yes, sir.
You are like, where are you at as far as age?
Almost the youngest. My sister is my youngest sister, Brooke. She is not lowest. She's the youngest, and I'm the
one I've met, right?
Sir?
She's probably the one I've met?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Wow. See, I'm an only child, so when I started, it was just like me. So your parents, your dad was already basing your experience off of the rest of the kids.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And I remember being a kid actually going to those martial arts classes. The first martial arts class I saw was like in a very tiny, dim lit building with like carpet for a mat. And my brother was late, and they made him do 50 push-ups on his knuckles. And I was kind of sitting there like, whoa, like these guys are intense. So that was my first you know, I got a different perspective of martial arts when I started.
That a different, did you train at the same place ever?
No, sir, I never got to train there. That was somewhere in nowhere, Arkansas, a little tiny place.
So you have baby knuckles. No, I'm
Yes.
kidding.
Yes.
Develop them later. We'll love the knuckle push-ups.
Oh, yes. I've grown to actually love them, but at the time when I was like 5 and saw that class, I thought that was just crazy.
So did you start in ATA? Have you always done ATA or do you have any other?
Yes, sir. I started in ATA. I mean, I've done classes and different things, different experiences with different martial arts, but ATA is originally where I started.
What about your dad? Was he like a lot higher? Was he a black belt when you started or?
He was a first degree, and right before I got my black belt, he came back and rejoined, just so I think he could stay a little bit ahead of me. So,
Oh, so he had stopped training.
yes, sir.
So you are responsible for helping your dad get back into, because he still does it today with you.
I think so, sir. Maybe that flame was about to die out, and then I brought him back somehow. Maybe he was like, man, I got to make sure I stay over this little kid. So,
I have sort of an interesting, similar story. My grandfather was a martial artist, and like my dad was like a teenager. They did martial arts together, but my dad had already trained quite a bit extensively. But then when I was old enough, when I was around 5, um, my dad and I started taking classes together. And we started, I'm not sure he'd done actual like Taekwondo. I think he'd done karate or something. So we started Taekwondo together at white belt. And then we went all the way to green belt together. That was not an ATA. That was in 1988. And then my instructor was was in the military and he was deployed and it closed our Taekwondo school. So then we kind of like went around for a while looking for new training. And then we found ATA school in around 1992, I think is when I joined ATA officially. I'd actually trained briefly with another ATA school, but my dad, when we went to the Taekwondo, the ATA school, they accepted my dad as a red belt, even though he had a green belt, and they made me go back to white belt.
oh my
My
God.
dad is, just a couple belts away from black belt, and I started over at white belt.
Wow.
But along the time from white belt to black belt, my dad just quit going. And I kept going. I loved it. There was a while, there's a few times where I was like, I don't want to go. And my mom kind of made me go, kind of made me finish my black belt. But I actually earned my black belt before my dad. And then after I became a black belt, he came back and started training again. And he earned his black belt. And he went on to earn a secondary black belt before he passed away. But it's just interesting how we as, we do this today, but we got our our dads who are partly responsible for us to continue on. So that's really cool to hear.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Is there any point in your martial art training, maybe it was when you were a kid, maybe even later, but is there a point where you really felt like maybe that you were going to quit? This is something that you weren't going to stick with or you weren't motivated?
Yes, sir. It definitely occurred to me when I was a senior and I was looking into college and I was still competing throughout all that. And I did make it in the top 10. I don't think I did really good that year because I was in so many different activities. So that was the time when I really looked at it, but I never really thought of the actual, the actual action of quitting because that was just not feasible to me because, martial arts just became a part of my life. And I figured I would slow down on martial arts, but I would never quit. I mean, I really think you may agree with this that, martial arts is a lifestyle. And so I really see myself doing this forever in some capacity. Like I said, perseverance is what it taught me. And my instructor said not to give up, not to quit. And I really took that to heart. So I see myself doing Taekwondo, forever. So yes, I did think about quitting, of course, and things like that, but I never really thought about it seriously. I see myself always doing martial arts.
Is there anything that you can say, any advice you can give to somebody watching or maybe one of your own students if they come to you and they're just, maybe it's a parent saying that their kid is just whining about going to class, or maybe an adult even, I just not really feeling motivated lately. Is there any kind of advice that you have for them?
Yes, sir. The best thing that I've ever heard is those kids that complain to go to class and don't want to go to class, they usually end up doing something great with it. And probably, a high percentage of the time, they always come up to the parents later and say, thank you. Thank you for dragging me to class, because I know several instructors that they hated Taekwondo. They had to go. It was like a punishment for them because they had to listen, they had to stand tall, they had to answer and those kind of things. But it's necessary. I mean, if you want to be a great individual in society, I think you have to learn that structure that martial arts teaches. And I think that a great example, Mr. Bias, he did not like martial arts. He had to do it when he was from 2 years old, and look at all the amazing things that he's accomplished. So I think later on, the kids especially, they will thank their parents for putting them through that experience, and they'll realize the benefits of what they got out of it. And a lot of the times, even when I talk to adults and things like that, there's regret. They're like, man, I was so close to getting a black belt and I never achieved it. It's a black belt is just something that you're not going to forget. And it's a life goal, and it's an experience. So that's what I think.
I definitely have to thank my mom for me being a black belt today. Without her, there's no way I would have done it. I would have definitely quit, especially with my dad, because my dad did quit. And so because my mom not only made me a master today, but my dad wouldn't have been a black belt either. So really, my mom was the driving force for me. Is there a single person, or maybe just a couple people, that you think were really influential on your martial art journey?
Yes, definitely both of my parents were. It's funny that you just mentioned your mom, because my mom actually, there's a really funny story about my mom and martial arts for me. I had done a tournament in Little Rock, and I think I was a first degree, and I had just gotten into my sword. I was really into sword. I got to do the demo with Mike Chat, and so that really helped my sword game and my XMA game. And so I did this audition for a show. And so I went to this church, not a very big church, and there was maybe 3 people. They were kind of the judges, and they kind of watched me do my sword routine. They're like, oh, that is great. We'd love to have you in the show and everything like that. Well, I didn't realize how far down the road the show was going to be. I think it was like 4, maybe 5 months down the road. And so I was doing, I think, black belt extravaganza or something, and I was going home. I was tired. I was exhausted. And my dad got a phone call from my mom and said, that show's tonight. Somehow it skipped our schedule or something. And I was just like, Dad, I'm really tired. I don't think I can do it. And Dad's like, oh, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll just go home. We'll call him. And as soon as I get home, my mom's standing in the driveway with my uniform. She's like, oh, no, you're doing the show. And I was just like, okay, Mom, yes, ma'am, I'll do it. But I really didn't want to do this show. She proceeded to drive me to Robinson Auditorium, which, have you been to Robinson?
No.
Huge. It's connected to the State House there. It's on the edge there. It's this huge auditorium. They do Broadway plays and things like that there. And the place is packed. The whole thing was sold out for this big church talent show that they had. And so they had several things. They had called my mom and said, we'll just put him near the end, and then we'll have the big finale at the end. But I was right before the big finale. And so I was just in shock of how many people were here. That Robinson, I'm not even sure how many thousand people fit in that auditorium, but it was huge. And I go out there, walk out by myself on the stage, this huge stage with my sword in my hand. And I was like, oh my gosh, this crowd is going to eat me alive. So I did my little traditional form, whatever it was. And then I started playing Can't Touch This. That was my XNA song. When I turned on Can't Touch This and grabbed my sword, they're like, oh, look at that little Asian kid go. And I just went crazy and I started flipping. And everybody was standing up and cheering. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm so glad I did this. Like it was something that I was terrified with. I was only 12 years old probably at the time. And it's something that it was blown up. A guy on the sidewalk was shaking my hand. He was like, you remember my name? I think his name was Oscar. He's like, you remember Oscar because you're going to be something one day. It was an incredible experience, but I would not have done that 100% without my mom. So my mom was always telling me, you can do this better. She was really honest with me, and I think that helped me a lot.
Now, your family have been so involved in martial arts, but your family has actually grown because of martial arts. Can you tell us a bit about how you got to know your wife?
Yes, sir. A little bit embarrassing story. I I was the Power Ranger. I love doing backflips at parties. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Um, I love doing it. And then one day I did this party at the Bowman location in Arkansas, and I took my mask off, and she was working the birthday party. She was the assistant there, and she looked at me, and I kind of shook my hair, had really long hair. I mean, I'm probably dramatizing this a little bit, but that's where we first saw each other. I mean, you know, I guess I was irresistible in that Power Ranger costume. I don't know what was going on, but we had actually trained jujitsu together, and that's where I kind of really started to talk to her, and it just grew from there.
So you were, as a colored belt, your dad was already a black belt. You started Taekwondo. When you were maybe like a colored belt, or you were a kid, what do you think was your favorite part of Taekwondo training?
That's a really great question. There's a couple things. The thing that really stands out to me is I remember when I got my double Sandra bonks, and I remember doing a triangle for the first time. And I just love that. I guess it was double Sandra bonks. Maybe it was kind of like XMA because they didn't have it at the time. But just swinging those chucks and people going, "Oh my gosh, look at that little guy go!" I mean, that was something that really stood in my mind. I guess I got attention for the first time for a sport because I mean I had done other sports and I was not good at really. I was okay, but I wasn't anything for anyone to say, "Wow, look at that." And so when I started doing those chucks and moving those, I think I was about a green belt. That's when I realized I was like, okay, there's something here. This is exciting. I love this. So I think that was probably one of the main things that I was passionate about was double Sandbox back then.
What weapon did you win your title with, your world champ title?
Actually, Jongbong.
Jongbong, okay. So you changed a bit over the years from double Songjabong to Jongbong.
Yes, sir. I actually changed three because I started with Songjabongs, double Songjabongs, did those. And then, they got old. So I moved to sword. And then you saw me with a sword every day of my life. And then I didn't win my title with that. I think I took second or third in top 10. And then I was all down. And I saw Taylor Lautner at the time was the top competitor. Have you seen the old videos of Taylor Lautner?
I think so.
He was incredible with the bow staff. And after I saw that and him win I guess it was the US Open, I was like, okay, let me see if I can do that. And then that one really I guess it put all my martial arts training that I'd already had together and added some performance to it. And it just took off. And I won that year. So I was really excited.
So I'm just pausing for a second. Can you hear the water fountain running behind me?
I just heard a little bit, but I can't hear it anymore.
All right, there, it just kicked off. I don't know if the microphones will pick up on that, but.
Yes, sir.
So sorry to give you a break there, but I was afraid the air conditioner or the water fountain would start kicking on, or cars would drive by really loud. So
I turned off the humidifier because it's noisy.
You have a humidifier?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's fancy. I don't have a fancy humidifier.
We had to in here because the floor would not dry. And even sweat, it would just be puddles. It's disgusting. So.
A humidifier or dehumidifier?
Sorry, dehumidifier.
Oh wow. Huh. This won't make it.
Our building is partly underground, so it's great for utilities and stuff like that, and tornadoes. But
so you don't get like condensation on your windows when they're working out in the window? Sure.
Not anymore.
I honestly miss that when you get it so like hot and sweaty in there that the windows are all steamed up. You're like, yeah, I love that.
I love that too.
This building is just too big with a high ceiling, so I don't get that here.
They actually, you can tell you have a good class when everyone just kind of leaves. They don't want to talk. They're just.
They look like zombies.
Exactly.
Yeah. I remember when XMA, you mentioned that there was no XMA when double Songjabong was your favorite. There was no such thing as XMA yet. So I remember when XMA, when Mike Chat came. I've probably told you before, but he and I tested for. Was it 5th degree or 6th degree? I think it was 5th degree black belt. We tested together for 5th degree.
I didn't know that.
We were in the same pot at World Championships, so.
Awesome.
It's kind of interesting. His board breaks were all like spin something. It was step, spin, punch, step, spin, axe kick. It just like obviously like the basic XMA stuff, but
Yes, sir.
You could see it coming out. And then it was funny because a little different in his board breaks were, all more like, yash, instead of just like, oh
We
yeah,
had never
yeah.
heard that before. Yes, sir.
How did
And
you
that
get
was
X?
2005. He introduced XMA, correct?
What's that?
He introduced XMA in 2005, correct?
I don't know the year specifically, but that seems about right.
I think so because when he did that performance, I know I was there like, oh my gosh, what is that? They
With
introduced those new uniforms.
with the cutoffs.
Yes, sir. Power
I
Ranger.
looked so horrible in those. I always had like a farmer's tan and not like big arms, so it didn't look so great when I wore the uniform.
Yes, sir. People with big arms still wear those to this day to show off their arms. So.
Remember the white shirt you could wear underneath that had like the thumb hole?
Oh, I forgot about. Yes, sir. I remember that. I
I
love that
eventually
one.
got one
And
of
pizza,
those, but it didn't look much better.
pizza stain. So
How did you learn XMA, or how did you kind of, you saw my chat initially at World Championships and that got you excited about it.
yes, sir.
So what kind of happened between that and doing what you do now?
I actually had a really young instructor. His name was Jeremy South, and he did XMA on the open circuit, I believe, before AT even had XMA. So he would always flip after class, and that's kind of something that really helped me with my XMA. Is ever since class was over, instead of just going home or relaxing, I would throw on my flips in there because there wasn't a time to practice XMA ever. So every time class was over, I'd ask my dad, can you leave the lights on for just a little bit? And I'm going to do some flips. I'm going to have some fun because that was just fun to me. And so seeing him do all those crazy tricks, he was the first one that kind of opened my eyes to it. He taught me how to do a cartwheel, then a one-hand cartwheel, and then get flashy and do like an L kick, stuff like that. So he started it, and then I just started asking questions to every instructor. If I saw you do a backflip, I would go make it a point to go talk to that person and ask how they did it because we didn't have it, and I didn't have an instructor to teach me XMA. So I just really had to learn on my own and look off YouTube and try to figure it out on my own. So
It's funny you say flips because you and I, we're both high-ranking black belts in ATA Taekwondo. However, you say flip means something completely different to me. I think of flipping somebody over, grabbing them and flipping them. You're talking about doing crazy moves that would break my back if I tried it.
yes, sir. Yes, I guess the proper word, I guess, would be tumbling. Now you see all these people doing what they call tricking, which is Taekwondo and flips involved. So that's something that's just crazy. It's advanced. I'm getting older now. I can't do that stuff anymore. But the things I see the next generation doing is insane.
I agree. I never dreamt of anything that I see in XMA, and just going now, you'll see a 7-year-old do things that when I was 7 or even 20, I never dreamt that you would see anybody do some of these moves. So it is pretty crazy, but they're obviously learning. You're the generation that's taught these kids. I didn't teach them how to do flips because I didn't grow up that way, but you're in line with the instructors who are bringing up this crazy XMA generation.
Yes, sir. We're trying to. And I know a lot of really good friends that are just amazing instructors, throughout ATA and the systems that we have. But I can recall my biggest trick I ever did in competition was I would do an X out backflip. So tuck, kick your legs out, and I would throw the jongbong behind my leg and land that. And that was just, everyone was like, whoa. I'd seen someone else do that, and so I want to see if I could do that too. But I think 2 years ago, I saw a 10-year-old. He did the same trick with style. I think he did it behind his back. Boom, landed it. And I was like, how old is that kid? He's 10? And so the level of competition is just ridiculous. Like you were saying, Mike Chat, when he came in 2005, the kid that did a backflip in that ring won. Like that was just unheard of. If you see a backflip, like they won XMA. But obviously the rules have changed and the skill level has definitely changed. So tumbling, tricking, it's all incredible. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
I really appreciate that. You mentioned the rules have changed, but that was definitely for me or for people who came from more of a just traditional Taekwondo background. I mean, I remember as a kid, I didn't even get to learn a weapon until I think I recommended black belt before, because ATA didn't always have like Pro Tech, they were doing like pressure points and stuff first. But yeah, class was just like warm up, do like kicks and blocks up and down the floor,
Yes,
get
sir.
in groups and work on your form for a while, and then maybe there's a sparring class, or if you're lucky, if you bring your own wood, you get to break boards. You know, when we had wood boards. But that
You
was
had to bring
like,
your own wood. You could do that.
what's that?
You could bring your own wood and they'd break it.
Yeah, before Rebreakable, you had to bring your own wood. So if you wanted to practice for, like, if you had your testing coming up, and you know you have to break boards because you're brown belt or whatever, um, if you didn't bring boards to class, you never got to practice.
Hmm.
So the only time the wood was provided was at when you would test. So when you come into the testing, they've got the boards provided because they don't want you to pick out, you know, the easiest like balsa kind of wood.
Yes,
But
sir.
yeah, like for practice, you would just have to go to the lumber store and get some cut and bring it to class, and then you write your name on it, and then they would go, "Who's got boards?" And then you come out and practice your board breaks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember it. You know, your dad obviously will remember a lot of this, but you know, World Champions when it was called Grand Nationals, but like at World Champions even, you know, World Championships when you would go to testing or midterms, it was really crazy because you know how big a world testing is,
Yes, sir.
maybe 1,000 people testing. Imagine boards having to be provided for all those people, and then also people, you know, high ranks have to break, you know, up to 4 boards. So the stacks of wood that you used to see at the World Championships when you would come in for the testing, it was just a sight to see. Just like literal wall built out of boards that were all going to get broken.
That is insane.
It is. You can see why we use the rebreakable boards, though. Can you imagine the waste and the cost from all that wood that they used to use?
Good thing they didn't get bad publicity for, all that, killing the trees, I guess. Wow.
Well, those people that break those big stacks of wood or blocks.
Yes,
It's
sir.
kind of funny, but
Well, I guess they weren't really conscious about that back then, but now I guess we're more conscious. I gotta cover my balding spot.
I'm beyond that.
I'm gonna do everything I can to hold it off.
You don't have my permission to use this bit. This
Yes,
is
sir.
definitely getting edited out. But when I was my first like full-time Taekwondo job, when I worked for Chief Master Minton, we had it was like a pamphlet that we were putting out for something, like a trifold pamphlet. I did the artwork, but we had the photography company come do it, and they had Chief Master Minton and me, and then like our program director, like all in a triangle, like bowing to each other. And this is when I was just like starting to really get like a little bald spot in the back. It was like really small. I had a lot of hair, but just like a bald spot in the back. But I never really saw it until I saw like picture of me bowing. So I was responsible for the putting this onto the pamphlet. So I photoshopped hair onto the back of my head to get rid of the bald spot.
That's a story right there.
I don't think I told anybody that. I just did it.
That'll get some views. Wow.
So we were talking about double song jabong was something when you started that you were really into. When you were young, at that point when you were young, you were a color belt. What do you think some of the benefits, you know, just outside of what you like to do, like looking at it as an adult instructor now, what were the things that maybe your parents would have appreciated that you were learning, or that you attribute now that you were learning or benefiting from?
Yes, sir. I think the main thing that I got on martial arts, there's so much into it, but I think the biggest thing that I got was not giving up. So perseverance, because not many people know this about me. I still have aplastic anemia, which is a blood disorder, and it's something that I'll never grow out of. It did get better for me, and I think martial arts really did help that. But I was hospitalized when I was 5 years old because
Wow.
my blood counts were so low that they had to monitor me, because if it went too low, then they would have to do a blood transfusion, take blood from somebody else and put it in me. So it was pretty scary for my parents. And so after this, I'd slowly just kept getting better. I never really actually needed a transfusion. So I just miraculously got better. I attribute that to of course, God, and of course, martial arts. And so after that, the different sports that I did, I would just get tired. Like I said before, I wasn't very good at other sports because I would get tired, which that was probably because of my blood. But my parents would always be like, "Oh, it's okay, just relax and don't take it too hard." But I got better and better, and I noticed I had more energy. And in Taekwondo, I think that really taught me to push my limits because I was getting about that age where my blood counts just kept rising. And when I did martial arts, it like all lined up perfectly in timing. And I just said, you know what? I'm not gonna give up. I'm tired. I'm gonna keep sparring. I'm gonna keep board breaking. I'm gonna keep flipping. And I really was able to push my limits. And I just got healthier and healthier, more endurance. And I think it just completely changed for me. The discipline, the not giving up, the perseverance. Because all my life I've been told it's okay to calm down. It's okay to give up. But martial arts was said, it's not okay to give up. You need to, if you start something, you need to finish it. So I think that's the best thing that taught me to do is persevere.
Wow. I think going back to when when you were 5, that's, that's something I love about Taekwondo is how it's so individualized. It's all about your own personal progress. We as a ATA as an organization are so welcoming to people of any sort of whatever your physical or mental condition is. We've both instructed people with all kinds of different, everyone is disabilities or whatever, or different levels of fitness or injuries. But that's really cool. It's a great story that you yourself, have made it to where you're at today, even though that's how you started.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So now that you're a fourth degree black belt, you've accomplished world champion, you've accomplished a lot of things. You're an instructor now. What do you think you like best about martial art training today?
Yes, sir. Um, Again, I think it would be sort of the lines of not giving up because the journey is definitely never over. There's always new challenges to overcome. And that's something I love about ATA is that they've kept changing and they've kept evolving. It's not the same thing from a long time ago. And we know, I think we have such a broad spectrum of everything we can learn now compared to what we used to know. So I just love that there's a new challenge every year. The grind doesn't stop. I mean, winning world champion and fourth degree and everything, that stuff is great. But I want to always push for the next thing, maybe 2 titles, 3 titles. I mean, whatever it is, I just want to keep pushing, keep grinding. And I don't ever want to win something and say, you know what, that was good, I'm done. It's an ongoing thing for me. And that's just, I guess, how I'm wired is to look for the next challenge.
Do you have any kind of advice for people who want to compete, or maybe just kind of going through your process, for someone who wants to be a world champion or state champion, or they just want to hear about what kind of things you go through when you are competitive, when you're trying to go for a title, when you're competing? What kind of training, what kind of changes do you make in your life to help you to succeed?
Yes, sir. The one question I would really ask them is, do they want it bad? Do you really, really want to do this? Because that question answers if they're going to be serious enough to earn a title like that or not. I mean, the more I learned about it is the more time you put in, the more things you sacrifice, the better the outcome. So if you're not willing to cut out Cokes before you compete, I think that's something that is a very easy thing that I tell my competitors to just cut out the soda. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, it shows if you really want to earn it. And then, of course, if you get more extreme with it, you need to be putting in practice every single night, especially leading up to the tournament. Now, of course, the day before tournament, you rest and you taper and eat correct things and stuff like that. But it's really just a matter of, I guess, willpower of how far they want to take it. So that's always the first thing I ask. If I'm going to train somebody to be a champion, I say, are you willing to do all this? Because if not, then there's no point in us getting started. I don't want to set you up to fail. If you're not all in, then you're not going to achieve it. So that's the first thing I ask.
So how much do you want it? Do you really want it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
How bad do you really want it?
Somebody is very serious and yes, I want this. I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to eat better, to give up Coke. Now,
Yes,
what kind of training regimen? Does it just come to class a couple times a week? Is there a lot of work outside? What do you think is physically?
I'm not sure I understand.
Did you? My Siri. Hey Siri popped up. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I didn't know that was even on.
Activated again.
Let's try again. So I was saying something like, so once somebody's decided that they really want it and they're willing to sacrifice, they're willing to change their diet and their lifestyle, what besides just, having the mental decision that you're going to work towards it and then willing to change, and stop drinking Coke all the time. What other kind of steps, maybe physically or training wise, do they need to take?
Well, obviously I think a lot of workout routines tell you to work out at least 3 to 4 times a week. So the issue that when it comes to sports is you have to work your muscles correctly. I mean, if you do kicks all the time, yes, that's good, but you can actually, injure yourself if you overwork those muscles too much. So, I mean, obviously you have to do your regular Taekwondo training, I guess 2 to 3 times a week, but that's just the minimum. You have to be able to do at-home training. And I usually suggest consulting with your instructor and different drills you can do. But if someone was really serious about it, I think they would need to do some kind of an arm workout, have that scheduled to where they do blocks and different techniques and things like that and push-ups with it and build that cardio up. And then maybe have a day for legs and then maybe have a day just for cardio where they drill their form over and over until they can't do it anymore. Because when I had finally won, I had done that form for 3 years. And I mean, my instructor, I would do a demo for every class. I mean, it was Tigers. It'd be 4 people. She'd be like, "You ready to do a demo?" And I was like, "I guess it's only 4 kids." She's like, "Well, you need to practice." And that really helped me not only get my conditioning down, but performing it for other people is another big thing I suggest people to do. Especially if you're going to do a performance like forms or weapons or you're going to do XMA, you need to perform for as many people as possible. So that's why I think demo team is really good. Even if it's a leadership class or something, having them demonstrate, I mean, that really takes a competitor to the next level because you not only have to be able to do your form, you have to perform it well. Those judges, you have no idea what judge you're going to get, and you have to impress them. So I think showsmanship also goes into it. So like I said, adding a workout regimen, something that's really going to push your limit. And you have to keep changing it too, because if you have the same, you say, okay, I'm going to start out, I'm going to do my form 3 times a night, something like that. That's great, but you're going to have to build up your cardio to do something more extreme, and you got to change it up. So there's tons of different variables. There's not, of course, a set answer that I can give for each one, but I mean, adding your cardio, adding some, if you're older, you need to do some weightlifting training, I think always helps. I know some of the best competitors, they're in the gym constantly. So
I have been in top 10 a few times, sparring for me. I've been a top 3 finisher twice, but I've not been a world champion. I've never gotten first place. So I don't know what that feels like. Do you remember when you won? What was that day like? What did it feel like?
The video, oh man, it was just amazing. I actually had some people, I actually had a pretty good group that came to watch me because every year I'd be like, "Come on guys, come watch me." And then I would lose. "Come on guys, come watch me." And I feel like it was kind of like my last chance before everyone was like, "Okay, he's not going to win." And so when I caught that last toss, I threw it up. The guy before me actually dropped his sword case. Great guy, Gio Leon. He had amazing form. It was neck and neck, and he dropped his case. And so everyone's like, okay, if he can just hold on, if Brandon can hold on to it, then he has a good shot to win, because we had already tied for first place. So everyone had gone. He did his form, dropped it, and I went out there, nailed my routine, and then I threw it super high, higher than like I even expected. And I caught it, and that's when everyone went wild. And when they pointed to me, I could not believe it. I was like in shock. You just see me kind of do this, and then all my friends are yelling, and I just kind of fell into them. Like it was an amazing experience. But it was incredible. And I was just kind of lit. I went home. It was like a dream. I looked in the mirror, and I was just like, I won. And like I had my medal, and I was just like, I cannot believe this, because I've been training so hard for that, and so long. I didn't think it was. You get to a point where you're not even gonna think it's possible, but it happened. So it's incredible.
It must, you know, all the work that you put into it, you're realizing that work, your hard work, your determination is what accomplished that. It wasn't just blind luck or wake up a world champion.
No, sir. It was definitely not an overnight thing. Like I said, I did that for him for 3 years, and to think that if I just did a little bit faster, or I add this little technique in there, tweak it just a little bit, could actually be the formula for a world title is pretty incredible. Some days it just works for you.
What's your favorite martial art technique?
I would have to say the 540.
540.
Yes, sir.
So with round kick, butterfly or crescent kick, what kind of?
It's kind of a crescent kick. I think they call it a gyro, where your leg goes over like this. That was the trick where I was like, whoa, that's a cool one. I like that one.
So why is that your favorite? Just was the first you saw that just first thing that really stood out to you, or?
That really projected me to do other things, to see what was possible, because I'd seen people do that. And when I developed that, you have to twist really quick to get your hips over like that. And so that rotation kind of helped me build into my barrel roll, which was the next trick, where you go horizontal and roll and land. Like that 540 really helped me jump into the extreme side of things, because butterflies are great and spin round kicks are great. But when you hit that 540 for the first time, I think everything changes right there. And then I said, you know what? I'm doing a spin and a half. Let's see if I can do 2 spins. So I started busting out 700s or 720, sorry, and then trying to go for the 900 3 spins. And so I think 540 was a really pivotal point for me that really excited me for sure.
That was the peak of my XMA was 540. I was
That's all.
starting to pull it off. It probably wasn't the best looking 540, but that was, I actually competed at world championships, not in top 10, but when XMA and creative were the same category, I was forced to compete in XMA. I really didn't want to. So I did the gumdo. I did sword as well for a while, but I pulled off a 540 with my sword, but then I followed through with a cut, and mid 540, my sheath came flying, and it was tied to my belt with the string, but my sword hit the sheath, and then it like put a big dent in it, and it was just spinning around me, and my wife and my program director were just cracking up.
Well, it's time for you to make a comeback, sir.
I did win one state champ title in XMA, but I think it was because I was like the only competitor kind of deal. Or I did the most tournaments or something, I don't know.
I'll give yourself some credit, sir.
So we're thinking about your martial arts when you were a kid, when you were a colored belt. And you've told me a bit about how just XMA rules have changed and things like that, but how do you think the martial art experience for our students has changed over the years from when you were a colored belt to what it's like to train today?
Yes, sir. I think a lot of the times, mostly kids are scared of sparring. I don't know if you've seen that, but a lot of the kids I've seen are just scared to get hit and those kind of things. And I think the fact that we've added more safety gear has definitely helped to that. And then we have so many different options now. Like you said, it doesn't matter if you have any kind of disability, you can train some form of martial arts. So I really think that diversity has really helped the experience for kids, because they can come in, they can do XMA, they can do, they can do cartwheels, they can do weapons, they can do combat, sparring. I mean, some people have incorporated different self-defense, jiu-jitsu, and those kind of things, ground fighting. So I think it's kind of like a lot of people say, a buffet of martial arts now. It's not just one thing, not just fight or no fight. It's several different things. So I think that really helps the kids' experience.
So when you're not practicing martial arts, when you're not training to be a world champ, when you're not teaching class or running a school, outside of martial arts, what do you like to do? What's it like to be Brandon Johnson, who's not doing martial arts today, on Sunday maybe?
Yes, sir. A couple things I do. I love to run. I love to get out there and see how far I can go, but that's kind of a training aspect. The real thing I like to do to unwind is guitar. That kind of relaxes me. I can, strum around, try to make a song or two, something like that. And it's something where you're like, this guy does taekwondo and, you do guitar too. So they're kind of, I don't know. It's a lot of fun to me. It's another way to express myself creatively, I think. Allows me to kind of not think about anything and just relax.
Now it's time for Mr. Johnson Reacts to YouTube videos. Have you seen this one?
I haven't. His face is already killing me, though. I can't. What's up with this man's eyebrows?
I love the woman.
He's trying to figure out what he's doing. Oh my
It's supposed to be like. I think this guy's like a real deal though. Like he's been in movies.
Is he?
I think he's like, yeah, actually on like TV or movies or something.
Trying to explain it. No, this is really deadly. That's 4th degree. Oh man.
I love the sidekicks. They're like upside down bit knee.
Let's talk about what he's wearing. Is that a hoodie with some tight, skinny jeans?
I think his hoodie's tucked into his jeans. Well, his back is black. I will say that.
I love it. Oh man, that kick, his knee. He's gonna mess up his knee like that. What is the finger?
You should try it in your next routine.
I need to look this guy up. Oh, he's great. He's still gonna try to validate him, I guess. With
You got a nose wipe.
oh my god, that's Bruce Lee. He's got the noise effects down, that's for sure. That's some good eye contact. That's some good eye contact. I wouldn't mess with him. That was great.
Well, you said you'd like to be world champ again. I think you have some new ideas. Like
Oh yes, I have a lot of ideas after that. Gotta fix my eyebrow game. Oh. Oh no. Those bones?
yeah.
And then the wood. This dude is made out of iron.
The kicking the stuff's no big deal to me, but the shin stuff.
Ugh.
Turn it down a little bit. This is a loud one. There you go.
Oh. I hope he drinks some milk. He needs some calcium. Breaking everything. You just tape random things to a tree and go out there and break it?
Yeah, those are bones. Look at this.
Oh my gosh. Look at that kid in the background. I can break this kid too. No, boom. Oh my god. Oh.
Rick.
Oh man, this hurts. Oh, and then he's gonna break the ball too. I'm not impressed until he breaks the tree too. Oh, a tire? You're gonna break the tire.
Let's see what happens.
Or your buddy.
Oh, there.
So I've tried that with a brick. It's not as easy as they make it out to be. Maybe I need a better, a different kind of brick. I don't know.
My friend and I, when we were 20, we thought we should develop our shins a bit. We would hit it like shinais on our shins, and one of my students got me like a little Christmas basket of nuts, and I was trying to crack the nuts over my shins.
Oh, how'd that go?
I had pretty hard shins. And whenever I would spar, I never wore shin guards, and people would complain when they had to fight me because shins would hurt when they would block.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure I recommend that to all the kids watching. All right, one more clip.
Well, I've seen this boy.
You've seen this one?
This boy's good.
Danny, you say bye. I'm
I'm bringing up my home videos from when I was a kid.
This pint-sized powerhouse is a wrestling fanatic with one goal, and that is to emulate his hero. At a mere 17 age, it really needs to be seen to be believed. From Japan, please.
Oh, he's Japanese too. Look at that. All right.
They did the, I don't know if you saw this mashup he did here. But.
So he did it. Look at his shoulders. Oh my gosh. I wonder what his workout regimen is. I can't. You know how many times I've done this with socks? That scene. Now this kid's doing it in public in front of everybody.
Where did the other nunchuck go?
He threw it to the side.
Ah.
Because Bruce Lee he was fighting two bad guys. I remember that scene. And then he knocked one out, and so he just needed one, so he just threw it away. Well, that was fun.
There's a bunch of good stuff out there.
I'm about to do another one of those reaction videos, sir. That was pretty great. You find some gold on YouTube, I'll say that.
Mr. Johnson, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm really excited that you could come and meet with me today. Thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you, sir. I hope I gave an interesting interview, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this, sir.
It was great.
Thank you, sir. I had a lot of fun, too.